Hi, my name is George Maylaban, and for those of you wondering how to pronounce the name, it's much like the month of May and then Laban, Maylaban, a German name. I'd like to start with a little bit of background about the school. This is a business that's been in, or a company that's been in business for over 20 years. We just recently bought it, and it's with the idea that we would again expand it to what I view as the next level. You're part of that new level. My concern right now is that you understand what you potentially are getting into by becoming an instructor with the company. So I'm going to start out with some basics, and again we'll expand on it, give you an idea what I expect out of a lesson, you know, that you would give a private lesson. But I'd like to again just maybe take you back a minute to that, where the business is. We do two things as owners of the business. First of all, we put on seminars. These are meant to stimulate the business. We put them on at many locations across the country. And then we put on private lessons. There are many locations across the country where we have instructors, and you're going to be teaching in one of these locations or potentially a new location. Let me give you an idea of what the typical lesson entails. And incidentally, I'm doing this because I just don't have the time to get to you to, again, put on a lesson where you ride along, get acquainted with the, the techniques. Okay, so how do we start this? We usually get an inquiry, and frequently off the internet. Valerie, my wife, is the scheduler. I get a call, sometimes she gets an email, and again the individual is indicating a time and the fact that they would like to have a lesson. They indicate to us a time and a place that they're at and where they would like to have the lesson. Hopefully we have an instructor nearby. If not, there is an option where we potentially would go to them. But again, this is only with your agreement. If you decide, you want to travel to a student, and this is obviously with the idea that you're reimbursed for those expenses. All right, let's talk about an individual lesson. Valerie's got the appointment set up. You've agreed to the time and the place where you'll be putting on the lesson. And the first thing that happens is we send out a form to the student and to you, a copy to you. This basically outlines, the date, time, that gives them your name, your telephone number. And these individuals are asked to call you a little bit ahead of time to indicate that they are at the location where the class is going to be located. Whenever they contact you and you've got everything set up as far as the time that you're going to be with them, we expect you to show up on time, and I mean promptly at the time. We expect, you come with an attitude that is basically, I'm going to help you. The lesson, you're a private contractor, but again, you're working through us. Our reputation, your reputation is on the line as you put on these lessons. All right, the form that's sent out, we ask the individual to fill out the basic information about their driver's license, the fact that they've got a driver's license, what state it's in, and the number of the license on the actual physical license they carry in their billfold. If there are two people who are going to be taught in the lesson, and incidentally these lessons are carried out in 4 or 6 hour blocks. 2 4-hour blocks. One 4-hour block the first day, and the second 4-hour block the second day is for one individual. If we have two individuals, like in a husband and wife, what we do is we set up a 6-hour first day, 6-hour second day. Typically the lessons start at about 9 o'clock, but there's nothing magic about that start time. We run lessons literally around any day of the week, any day or any week of the year. It's up to you and the student to come to an agreement that this will work for you. The individual, again, is asked to fill out the information with their license number and, again, the expiration date, make sure that it is a valid license. for each of the people. We ask them for a license plate on the vehicle that we're going to be teaching on, and we need to see, and I mean see, the policy or information about the policy on the vehicle, insurance policy. We want to make sure that you're protected, we are protected by the fact that these people do have an insurance policy. You're an independent contractor, but again, you're riding as a guest of theirs. Okay, what happens? You get to the rig. First thing I typically do is obviously introduce myself. We get into a few cordialities and then usually sit around and talk a little bit about what they expect from the lesson. Sometimes we have people who are brand new at RVing. These individuals, sometimes they take like 3 hours to get them acquainted with all of the things on the rig. Fuses, all of the things that come with the 12-volt system, a 110-volt water system. Where and how much water do they hold? Electrical issues. It can be a myriad of things that they want to know about, including things like, as simple as it may seem, flushing a toilet. Okay, so again, what we get out on the table is their expectations. Sometimes with that expectations out on the table, and incidentally, some of the expectations, we've had people who literally wanted to do nothing other than backing. They wanted to spend literally 12 hours of backing on a fifth wheel. Again, we're there to help them be safe on the road. Okay, so let's just say that we have an average lesson, and incidentally, there's hardly an average lesson. We would normally start out with an inspection of the rig. I usually do a walk around. We look at things like the tires. Are they, do they look okay? We're looking for excess grease around bearings and things of that nature, especially with a fifth wheel or a towable. We're looking at the safety of the vehicle. Is it a safe vehicle, or does it look like it's a safe vehicle? At any point along the way, you are in a position to say, no, I'm not going to conduct the lesson. And I want to emphasize that. That is your prerogative. It is our concern that you get into an unsafe lesson or with unsafe people. At any point in the lesson, if you feel, that this is not going well, please make sure that they are safely back to a place. And incidentally, it's not, I really don't like the idea of you ever getting behind the wheel. But again, get them to a safe place. And if you need a taxi, take a taxi, send the bill to me. I don't want you put in the position of driving or having an unsafe experience. Okay, so the lesson, you do your walk around. The vehicle looks safe, everything looks okay. First thing I usually do is ask the individual to get behind the wheel. Incidentally, that spouse or that ride-along, if you have a husband or a spouse that's riding along, their role is to ride along, not be an instructor or part of the instructing. So I usually have a little conversation about the fact that, hey, I really would like to be the instructor, and please, if you would, be quiet. Do it as tactfully as you can. Most guys get the idea. They know that they should not be speaking up as the lesson goes on. Okay, I get the individual into the seat, where they're going to be driving the pilot seat of the vehicle. First thing I usually do is make sure that they are comfortable in the seat. Comfort, believe it or not, and the fact that they're not, tense, as they try to run the controls is really important. So what we usually do is get the seat moved to a point where it is clearly comfortable. Sometimes this is quite a job because husband and wife are significantly taller or shorter, and the issue becomes, trying to get the seat so that the individual is comfortable, can reach the pedals without any problem. The next thing we do is we go through the gauges and buttons, and sometimes this is pretty doggone intimidating. Sometimes you have a woman who spent the night worrying all through the night about, what she's going to be, or the lesson that's going to be conducted. So again, as much as you can, try to dispel this fear. But again, take them through all of the buttons and all of the gauges. You know, I like to emphasize to them that, you know, they need to know not only where the buttons are, but they can reach them without spending a lot of time looking around. So again, one of the homework assignments that I normally assign to the individual is that their job at night is going to be being able to reach over, touch the gear shift mechanism. If it's a Allison transmission with buttons, you know, that they know where the buttons are, and all of the buttons, you know, of course, to shift up, neutral, drive, reverse, and again, make sure that they can do that, plus the cruise control, and plus, you know, the exhaust or Jake brake if they have one on the vehicle. Sometimes on pickup trucks, it's a simple, you know, the column shift thing, but again, make sure that they know where the buttons are on it. A lot of the fifth wheels have electric brakes that are controlled, you know, on or near the driver's seat, and these that need to be changed periodically. Make sure they know where they are and that they can finger them without spending a lot of time or energy or eyesight or distracted driving trying to get to it. Next thing is the mirrors, and I want to emphasize one thing. I've seldom gotten into a rig and gotten behind the wheel with one of these students and found that the mirrors were correctly adjusted. Almost inevitably they're not. Okay, most vehicles, whether it's fifth wheel, towable, or whatever, you know, or the Class A, Class C, Class B, have electric mirrors and the convex mirror. Make sure that they get comfortable with the electric mirror, that they get that so that it is angled in, but again, so that they can see far behind them, and so that there is a small sliver of the side of the coach in that mirror. Make sure again that their head is not moving a lot to get to or to see in those rear view mirrors. The convex mirror is the one that almost always is maladjusted. Again, you need a sliver of the side of the vehicle, but again, it's got to be adjusted down and out so that, you know, again, it can catch the individual who slips into the blind spot. Also, it gives them an idea if they're really getting close to climbing a curb or doing something like that. With that, I'm usually set to go, and this is where I'm going to move to section 2 of the lesson. I want you to stop this and take a few minutes to digest what you've just seen, and then I want you to call me. After each of these segments, I want you to give me a call. Make sure that you're comfortable with what I'm saying and that we clearly are on the same page about this. So again, please turn off the video and again, give me a call and let's talk about the lesson, or this first portion of the instruction.